They told me I wouldn't walk at 70. Today I'm 93 and I walk every day. They told me I would never walk again, that my body had already given all it had to give, that at 93 years old, the only thing I had left was to sit and wait. But today I walk every day. Unhurried, yes, but with a steady step. Because I learned something that changed everything. It's not the years that stop you. It's the habits you stop keeping. And that's why today I speak to you. You may be 60, 70, 80, or older. You may have already felt that your body doesn't respond like it used to, that doctors speak to you with resignation, or that your own will fades a little more each day. But I want you to know something. You are not alone. And above all, you are not defeated. This video isn't about miracles. It's not about magic formulas or hidden recipes. It's about habits. Small daily acts that, if you practice them consistently, can change your energy, your strength, and even your hope. Today, I'm going to share with you the most powerful habits I have seen transform the lives of older people. People who are tired, sick, or depressed, and who today walk, smile, and live with dignity. Stay until the end, because I'm going to tell you the habit that, personally, saved my life. And you can do it too, truly. But before we begin, I want to get to know you a little better. From which part of the world are you watching us? And how old are you? Write it in the comments. I would love to know, because this space is for you. Let's get started, because it's never too late to start living better. The diagnosis that changed everything. He remembers every detail as if it happened yesterday. The white coat, the silence of the room, that smell of disinfectant that seems to creep into the soul. And then, the sentence that froze him inside, "You will never walk normally again." There were no screams, there were no tears, only an emptiness, a silence that weighed more than any word. John, that's his name, was 73 years old. He had always been an active, independent, strong man. Despite the aches and pains of age, he would get up every morning to tend his garden, walk the dog, do his own shopping, and enjoy his grandchildren on weekends. He liked cooking, laughing, fixing things around the house. He felt that life still belonged to him. Until that day. A silly accident, a fall down the stairs, a broken vertebra, and a phrase that changed everything. Your mobility will not be the same. It's possible that you will never fully recover the function in your legs. John stared at a fixed point on the wall. He didn't want to look at anyone. He didn't want anyone to look at him. In his head, there was only one question. Is everything already over for me? For weeks, he shut himself off. He didn't want visitors. He didn't want to talk. He only thought about what he had lost. And now what? Why should I get up? To watch how others help me live? His body hurt. But his soul hurt more. Because no one prepares you for the moment when your independence falters. No one tells you how to rebuild yourself when you feel broken inside. But it was in the midst of that darkness that something, a spark, a memory, a deep need, began to ignite. And without even knowing it yet, John was about to embark on the bravest path of his life, a path backward, in order to move forward again. The moment of decision, not giving up. There was a day when everything changed. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't a doctor. It was a look in the mirror and a simple question. Is this how I want to spend my remaining days? Mr. Ernest, 79 years old, had gone months without leaving the house. He walked with difficulty, had gained weight, and the pains in his legs made him dread every step. But that day, upon seeing himself in his unbuttoned shirt, his eyes lifeless, and the silence weighing heavier than his body, something inside him rebelled. I didn't give up when I became a widower. I didn't give up when I had surgery. And am I going to give up now over this knee? That was his first decision, to try, even if it hurt, even if he fell, even if no one believed he could achieve it. The path was not easy. At first, getting out of bed was a battle. His body trembled, his breathing quickened, and sometimes he had to sit down again because of dizziness. But something held him up. The memory of the man he once was, and the hope of returning, even if just a little, to feeling that strong again. There were days of tears. There were days of anger. And yes, there were also close voices that, unintentionally, discouraged him. "Dad, you're not up to those efforts anymore." "Let it go. Better stay calm." But there was also someone who believed. His granddaughter Lucy, only 17 years old, and with unshakable faith. "Grandpa, if you take one step, I'll take another with you." And so she did. Holding his arm, supporting him with tenderness but without pity, she encouraged him to take that first step. Half a meter, a short hallway. But in his soul, it was as if he had walked a whole kilometer. Because in that step, there was not only muscle, there was willpower, there was pride, there was life. From that moment on, every day was a victory, no matter the stumbles, nor the incredulous looks. Mr. Ernest had made a decision, not to give up. And with that, he had already won more than many can imagine. The habits that made the difference. Do you know what made the difference in his health? It wasn't a miracle pill. It was the habits. Simple, consistent, silent. Nothing extreme. Nothing impossible. Just small decisions that over time became huge. Every morning, before anything else, he would rise slowly and move his body. Sometimes with a short walk around the house, other times with gentle chair exercises, push-ups against the wall, stretches for his neck, back and ankles. He didn't go to the gym. He didn't have a trainer. He only had discipline. And if one day he couldn't do much, at least he took steps, even if they were few, even if they were slow. But he took them, because he understood that the body, if it doesn't move, shuts down. His diet also changed, but without complications. He gave up heavy meals at night. He cut back on sugars. He increased proteins and vegetables. Nothing expensive, nothing gourmet, just common sense. He slept well because he tired himself on purpose, and that restorative sleep gave him energy, and that energy gave him more desire to move. It was a cycle, a virtuous circle that started with just one decision, to move every day without excuses. And the best part is that the results showed. He began to sleep better, his digestion improved, his checkups came back more stable, but above all, he began to smile more often. He had energy to call his friends, to care for his plants, to read, to live. Today, if you're listening to this, you might be wondering, but where do I start? My advice is simple. Walk at least 5 minutes. You don't need to do more, not today. 5 minutes today could be 10 next week. They could be 50 within a month. And when you realize it, you will have changed your story. Not because you did a lot, but because you did it every day. Habits don't cure everything, but almost always, they cure enough to make you want to live again. The mind-body connection. For a long time, we thought the body aged one way and the mind another, as if they were separate roads. But in reality, they are deeply connected. What happens in one inevitably affects the other. When an older person begins to move more, to activate their muscles, to regain agility, something also begins to change inside their head. It's not immediate, but it's powerful. First comes a bit more clarity. The mind feels less foggy. Then, a spark of motivation. The desire to get up, to do things. And over time, that mental energy transforms into a deeper feeling. Dignity. Because when you can do things for yourself again, even small things, you feel useful again, you feel alive again. Mr. Ernest told me this, 79 years old, who had spent months depending on his daughter for everything. But one day, after weeks of walking inside the house and strengthening his legs, he said to his daughter, "Don't take me to the market today. I want to try it myself." She hesitated, but she let him. He walked slowly, leaning on his cane, and when he returned with his bag of tomatoes and bread in hand, his eyes sparkled like they hadn't in a long time. He said to me, "I felt like I belonged to myself again." That is what movement does. It doesn't just lengthen life, it awakens it. It gives it back its meaning. And yes, it's hard. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes you don't feel like it. But if the body can move a little, even if just a little, the mind can renew itself too. It's not just about physical strength. It's about a decision. Do I want to keep waiting for life to pass? Or do I want to walk a little toward it? Because sometimes the most important strength isn't in the muscles, but in the will. And when that will activates, the body responds, and the mind blossoms. Obstacles he still faces, but they don't stop him. Not everything is easy, and whoever tells you otherwise isn't being honest. At a certain age, the body aches, spirits falter, and the mind sometimes fills with doubts. He has them too. There are days when rising is hard, when his knees creak, when he can't catch his breath on a climb, when dark thoughts circle, and the phrase he hears most is, "Why do you keep going? You've done enough already." But he doesn't listen to that voice. Not because it doesn't affect him, but because he learned to choose which voice deserves to be heard. Bad days don't defeat him, they teach him. Instead of giving up, he adapts. He walks more slowly. He rests more often. He accepts that the pace isn't what it used to be, but the path still belongs to him. He knows it's not about running. It was never about that. It's about keeping on, about continuing to smile even when it hurts, to keep getting up even when it's hard, to keep betting on life even when it seems it's already been lived too much. Because as long as there is a path, there will always be a reason to take one more step. And that is exactly what he does every morning, calmly, wisely, and with courage. His current daily routine at 93. At 93 years old, his life isn't hectic, but it has rhythm, and that rhythm is what keeps him standing. He wakes up every day at 6:30 in the morning without an alarm clock. He says his body already knows when it's time to get up. The first thing he does is sit on the bed, take a deep breath, and give thanks. 3 breaths, a thank you under his breath. Then he moves his feet, his legs, his arms, and only then does he stand. Breakfast is always simple but full of intention. A bit of hot oatmeal with ripe banana, a teaspoon of chia seeds, and his indispensable cup of chamomile tea. Nothing processed, nothing his grandmother wouldn't recognize. Soul breakfast, he calls it. Then he puts on comfortable clothes, bundles up if it's cold, and goes for a walk. Not far, not fast, but he walks. Every day. He circles his garden or the building hallway. He says that as he walks, he revisits his memories, plans what he will cook, or simply listens to the birds singing. He doesn't walk out of obligation. He walks because he knows that if he stops, his body also stops. When he returns, he sits for a while to stretch his body. He moves his neck, his shoulders, his back. Sometimes he plays soft music from his youth and lets his body sway with it. He doesn't dance like before, but he sways, smiles, and allows himself to flow. He eats twice a day, a hearty meal at midday and a very light dinner at dusk. No eating at odd hours, nor going to bed with a full stomach. He says his digestion thanks him for that routine. A nap isn't mandatory, but if his body asks for it, he lies down for an hour. Sleeping isn't wasting time. It's giving the body a moment to repair itself, he says. In the afternoon, he does something he enjoys. Sometimes he sews, other times he reads an old magazine. But every day he sets himself a small goal: to circle the garden 5 times, sort a box of photographs, write a letter. Simple things, but ones that give his day meaning. And when night comes, he doesn't fall asleep in front of the television. He sits with his cup of warm milk, listens to some classical music, or says a little prayer. By 9, he's already in bed, tucked in silence. That's how he lives. Unhurried, unstressed, without noise, but with intention. And that, perhaps, is what keeps him truly alive. It's never too late to improve your health. It's never too late to teach your body that you still want to live with dignity, with strength, with joy. I have seen older people who, after making just one dietary change, regained energy, lowered their blood pressure, slept better, and began to smile again. And the most beautiful thing is that their change inspired others, their children, their grandchildren, their neighbors. Because when you decide to take care of yourself, you give a silent example that can transform many lives around you. So now I ask you, how old are you, and how many steps do you want to take today? Tell me in the comments. Really, I want to read you. And if this video helped you believe again in the simple, in the possible, in the human, subscribe. Because here we speak from the heart, and here you matter too. See you soon.